Welcome to NBNR, the authority on unfiltered opinions and authentic player insight for Nebraska athletics. Connect with us on Twitter, Instagram, and at nbnrpodcast.com.
We have the saying, no block, no rock.
You know, we just really love Utter. He's a junkyard dog.
Kenny Bell ran up to me. He's like, you know what you just did?
You get mad when you go get in the portal and go to another podcast?
You know, usually dumbbells are in pairs. They had 5 dumbbells.
Dang on it, Muhammad!
GBR.
Cut that, Kyle. Go Big Red indeed. No block, no rock. Coming to you live once again from the Nebraska Brewing Company tap room.
Woo!
108th and Harrison, La Vista, Nebraska. Hot and fresh off a Nebraska win.
Wow.
Finally. I love this.
Back
Two
to back.
wins in a row?
We're
Are you
going
kidding?
back to back.
Back to back since 2018. Back-to-back Big Ten wins for the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Not used to it.
I'm verklempt. I can barely contain it.
Is that your word of the day today?
Verklempt. Hashtag verklempt. Okay, guys. What are we all drinking here? I'm drinking my cow. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. It's not cowbell, right?
Not yet.
It's not bell cow. It's cow tipper.
Yeah.
I feel like cow is a common theme around here.
Yeah. Cooper James.
That's right.
Anthony Grant. We got it all, right?
It's beautiful. Cream ale. And I'm going to have you, I'm throwing it over to you, Connor.
Yes.
This cow tipper. Tell our listeners a little bit more about the cow tipper.
It's a nice light beer. I believe it is like the tailgating beer. There's a little bit of foreshadowing, whether that might be available for you to take to your tailgates in the next year. But it is like, it's a nice football beer. It's nothing too powerful. The malt flavor is pretty relaxed. There's really no hoppiness to it. It's crushable. It's one that you can have a bunch of.
I agree with you.
Which honestly, let's be real. If you're watching Husker football, you're likely going to need a bunch of.
Sure.
14 to 13?
Yeah, my Lord. But yeah, no, it's perfect. We're really excited about it. And like I said, there's a little bit of foreshadowing about how it's going to be available next year.
Okay. Michael, what are you drinking?
Jared, you sound so crisp in my ears with these brand new microphones. I am drinking the Ale Storm. Stir it up for the Storm Chasers. Baseball season has passed, but the beer is still on tap. It is awesome. Love it. It's a great tailgating beer if you're going to go tailgate at a Storm Chasers game. So I love it.
Yeah.
The Chasers might not have been great, but the beer is. That's really all you need.
Well, when you take all their players and bring them to the major leagues, even though they probably aren't even major league ready, but hey, I'm a Royals fan.
Hey, the players come and go. The beer stays. The beer is forever.
Facts.
Kai Bai. Yeah, I call him Kai Bai. Kyle Byers.
You already know, and I wish on this new mixer, and someday we will, I'll have a little drop, a little button on this thing, and it's going to go.
Do it live.
Taco Reveza?
The Taco Revesa?
Go to. Everybody knows that. I do it every single week. It's usually either the cow tipper or Taco Vesa for me, but, it is what it is.
K-Cav. Cadillac, let's go.
I don't even know why we ask me anymore. Everyone knows what I'm drinking. If you've listened to any episode of this podcast, you know I'm drinking the Pilsner. It is every week.
I just get so bored. Like, why would you drink the same thing every day?
Because it's so goddamn good.
Well, all right.
What is that?
What
is
else
that
do you
a
want him to
problem?
say? I mean,
Some people drink water to survive. He drinks Pilsner.
it makes him
Yeah.
feel good.
Exactly. This is my lifeblood right here.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Listen, you don't need to justify it. I don't know why he's making such a huge fit out of it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
I just, one
Listen.
of these days, I want you to drink something else.
No, I won't do it. I won't
I
do it.
refuse. Okay. You guys can see it on the video. We do have a very special guest, a Mr. Nick Handley. He hosts his own radio show on 590 here on ESPN Radio in Omaha from noon till 4. Nick Handley, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us on the No Block, No Rock podcast. What are you drinking?
It is the cow tipper. Now,
Yeah.
you guys are going over your favorites here, too. It would be a Cardinal Pale Ale would be my go-to, which is just fantastic. The Pils, big fan of as well. But I got hooked when we started. We actually did our first remote broadcast when I got with AM 590 9 years ago, right? Over there, when the tap room just opened.
Yeah.
I got hooked on Hefeweizen.
Oh, the
In
EO.
fact-
Another fantastic beer.
We had a keg of Hefeweizen for our, what do you call those? A couple shower?
Yeah.
Oh,
A
there you
couple
go.
shower
Yeah.
at my in-laws out at Tiburon, and we had a keg of it. Boys, we were doing keg stands of Hefeweizen, which I don't think is how that was supposed to be drank.
Is that advisable?
No, it's not. But you see a keg, you go back to old habits.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm proud but not proud to say that there were some keg stands with the Hefeweizen. Needless to say, I got a little bit we needed to take a break.
You had fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Hefeweizen and I had to take a break, but it's still like one of my favorite beers.
So not advisable, but certainly enjoyable.
Of course. You know a keg stand that's never been enjoyable? Well, okay, maybe.
I've had several.
That's bad. But yes, this is the cow tipper, and so this is the first time I'm having it. Very good. Like Connor said, I would wholeheartedly agree. I'm happy to say this is my second, and it's going down even better than the first.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, we start recording, and Nick's like, the camera's about to go, and is it going to look weird if I have an empty glass and everybody else has beers?
I would be insulted if he didn't have a full beer.
Exactly.
I didn't know if there was some type of etiquette here. I mean, this is the first time I'm doing like a broadcast. I'm kind of on the different end of this with, at the brewery with beer. And, usually when we would do the broadcast, Connor, remember this? Like, we would order it in the last hour. And we would kind of be looking around like, is our GM here? Yeah. Is our director of sales here? Is anybody here that might drop the dime on us that we're drinking during a broadcast? So
yeah, we encourage our
this
guests.
is nice. This is really nice.
Don't worry.
We got this whole fancy setup here. These guys recorded without me last week. I was listening to parents talk about their kid a lot.
Parent-teacher conferences.
Teacher conferences.
That was probably just as enjoyable, though.
It was fine. It was great. I loved it. Had fun.
Okay.
No issues whatsoever. But you guys talked as if you had won like an Oscar for like 5 or 10 minutes. Just like, our listeners, oh my God, you love us so much. We appreciate everything you've done for us.
So all listeners out there, just know that Jared doesn't appreciate you like we do. Remember that.
I thought you were about to say, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
That's still a thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a relevant meme.
And listen, you guys freaking get those drops in.
Right on cue.
Yeah, I know. Cue.
Kyle's so quick with it. I can't even. I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed. Okay, so let's get into this Husker win, 14-13. A common phrase thrown around was rock fight. Rock fight.
Better than a pillow fight.
Gosh,
It's better than a pillow fight.
tell you what. And I just love how before this game, you had Mark Whipple telling everybody, hey, he's telling the locker room, you guys are in first place. Act like it. And then after this game, it's fake first place. So it's very nice to be in this position as a Husker fan, even though it might be very short-lived. It might be fool's gold. It is so great to just even be, it's October 10th, and we're talking about Nebraska being in the first place in the Big Ten West.
We're in the driver's seat, right?
I don't know how many driver seats there are.
1 of 3.
I don't know what that
1 of 3 right now.
So, I mean, look, it was a really rough start, that rough first half. I mean, it was pretty rough. Got shut out. But look, let's talk about the good, okay? Let's just go. The damn defense, man. They look good out there in that second half. Gave up 0 points for the second week in a row. I mean,
There's something to be said about simplifying things that, okay, and I'm sure you guys are probably in this mindset, okay, you fire Frost following week, after the Oklahoma game, you're like, gosh, defense is just atrocious. So getting rid of Chinander, who I'll go on the record and say I was an Eric Chinander fan, and I still feel like he's associated with a failure in Nebraska, but I thought out of that staff, out of the major coordinating positions, he was actually one of the bright spots. You saw incremental progress. That defense last year was fun to watch. And yet you understood there needed to be accountability. So when they changed that, it was, okay, what is this really going to do? And you heard, Mickey talk about simplifying. Then when Bill Bush finally got a chance to talk, you heard him, basically double down on that. And you're like, okay, still, what is that going to mean? Are these guys really all of a sudden going to turn into, at least a defense that looked similar to a year ago? I get it, it's Indiana and Rutgers. But the things I liked about watching that team last year, hats on the football, a lot of energy, but it was chaotic but controlled chaos. Like when I think of controlled chaos, I think of Garrett Nelson.
Yeah.
And he was MIA the first few games. Like, there would be a moment here and there, but for a guy that kind of had that all business talk during Big Ten media days and kind of, there was a little bit of that, and you're like, all right, cool, I'm in, I'm bought in on this guy. And then I'm like, okay, now is our guy all talk? O'Shawn Mathis, all the things that we heard in the preseason, none of that was a factor. Now all of a sudden you're seeing different, like Malcolm Hartsock, like 2 games in a row is making plays, impacting a game. Garrett Nelson looks like he's kind of back to that controlled chaos. Nick Handley and Luke Reimer. In Reimer's injury, that's a concern. But seeing those guys be able to just flow to the football like you saw a year ago, that's the one thing that stands out to me more than anything. So I don't know what was being preached pre-Bill Busch taking over, but it looks familiar. It looks similar to last year where you have guys flying to the football. First and foremost, that's the one thing that stood out to me.
Well, you see, like, pre-snap, they don't look disorganized. They're kind of like, oh, this is where we're supposed to be. We are lined up, and you can only start from there is just knowing where you're supposed to be.
Lining up. I mean, that's something we learned like in middle school football. All right, here's where you got to go, son. Like, but that's what they're talking about. Is like, is it just that simple?
It looked like
Kinda
it.
does.
I mean, honestly, we're not talking about elite offenses in Indiana and Rutgers by any means.
No.
I mean, Rutgers' offensive coordinator just lost his job because of Nebraska's foot in the ground defense.
Bill Busch is out here taking lives.
He ain't wrong.
Taking jobs.
Indiana's O-line coach.
O-line coach.
Yeah.
He's an assassin.
Yeah.
So who on Purdue's staff is next? Who's on the job?
I said that today. I said, all right, Jeff Brom, you got some decisions you're going to have to make on Sunday. Just let you know.
I hope so.
I know.
Wouldn't that be something?
But
look,
I do love, really quick, you mentioned a phrase that I have beat to death over this season already, and that was incremental progress. And Chenander, again, was known for that incremental progress. We're going to make a few small steps every season and get a little bit better. Obviously, that did not work out through the first couple weeks of this season. From what I've seen since Chenander's been gone and Bill Busch has taken that slot over 2 weeks, it's not quite so incremental. I mean, we're seeing, like you mentioned, the second half. The second half stats under Bill Busch are just incredible.
2 games in a row.
They're just incredible. And I'm very excited. Is Bill Busch a long-term guy? Maybe not. But I do like what we're seeing out of that defense. And like you said, we're really starting to see it come back to what we thought or knew the Nebraska defense was prior.
Well, and like 2 weeks ago, we talked on the podcast, like, okay, like, is this really going to make that big of a difference?
Yeah, right.
Like, just like you said, Nick, like, is just them getting their feet right and just set up where they're supposed to be, is that really going to fix some of the issues that we're seeing so far? And
sure as shit.
It has. I mean, it has helped.
Yeah.
So, just as a fan watching, one of the most noticeable things is the corners are putting more pressure on the receivers, right? They're pressing a little bit more. They're being a little more aggressive. Of course, now that you have that true freshman out there, he's 5'9". He got challenged a few times, gave up a few big plays. He was there, right? He didn't get burned for a touchdown. He was still there.
It was good coverage, though. Really, honestly, it wasn't bad coverage. It's just inexperience.
Yeah. He's 5'9".
He's somewhat undersized and he's inexperienced. So
remember Courtney Grigsby when he was on here?
Yeah. Sure do. He can jump really high.
Yeah.
He can return punts too and kicks. But it's just like when you're able to press up on receivers, you're giving your defensive line a chance to actually like have an impact on the game. And it looked like our D-line, Ty Robinson looks like a different guy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And Garrett Nelson, the first few things that I remember about Garrett Nelson, these first couple games, was him doing his stupid fucking Peter Pan. He tackles a guy after he gets 4 yards, and he's doing this.
Yeah, you don't celebrate after a 4-yard gain.
Little light on his feet there. It's
he was on his best behavior, honestly.
He was.
Even when he made the typical, like, prototypical tackle, he wasn't dancing and showboating and acting like you're Conor McGregor. None of that. I mean, he actually looked like a football player. It's weird.
And Mathis, he got a sack. Cool.
Yeah.
And that tip pass that the refs missed.
Yeah, that was crazy.
How do you miss that? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Oh, on the initial PI call?
On the initial PI.
Yeah, that should not have ever gone to review. It's like, how many guys? Yeah, I get people throw ducks, but
I was amazed that they reviewed it in the first place. I was like, oh, they're actually going to go back and look to see if they missed something? Like, that's crazy.
Thank God that's a reviewable play.
Right.
Jesus.
Because, I'm with you. Like,
holy cow. Because you can see it. You can see it now. That's just in Nebraska. We're snake betting.
Big Ten hates us.
Yep. It's like, no, the refs are just.
Damn you, Kevin Warren.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Kevin Warren, did you see him dapping it up with Mickey?
Oh.
We love Kevin Warren. He's the best. We've always been saying this.
Yeah, we always loved him.
crown him best commissioner. He handled COVID perfectly. It was fine.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
He was a rookie. You know, we would all make rookie mistakes,
Yes,
right?
He was put in a very tough position. But he loves Mickey Joseph, so we love him. Okay? So let's go over to the offense, unless you guys want to touch any more on the defense at all.
I'm set on defense.
Hey, Miles Farmer.
Yeah, that was big. And well,
Listen.
okay. So another part of this, you get the big interception, a decent return off the interception, subsequent touchdown afterwards. Complimentary football. Yes. We're starting to see more of that too. Like, again, these are things that I feel like it wasn't so long ago, but it feels like forever ago. When you would see that, when you would see a turnover lead to like 2 or 3 plays later in the end zone. I mean, I was, and again, this is, you know, my cloudy, jaded mind now with Nebraska football is after that pick, I was waiting for a pre-snap penalty, then a hold. And so basically what we gained out of the interception, we would have lost the yards, and then we wouldn't even been in field goal range.
Right.
Like, that's kind of what I was expecting, but oh my God, they're airing it out. And there's all of a sudden, you know, Trey Palmer been bottled up all game, all of a sudden makes a great catch in the back of the end zone. It's like this not only fires up your defense, they made the play, the offense able to capitalize off that. That's contagious. And I mentioned this week. Just watching the last 2 weeks, the sideline. It looks normal. You got a coach who's engaged. He's talking to his players, holding them accountable, taking them out of games when things are going bad. But he's constantly communicating with the refs, with the players, with the coaches. He just looks engaged. Hence, the sideline looks like an actual functioning college football sideline. It's fun to see.
It doesn't look like Millard South sideline where the guys are going up and down like a pep rally.
And then the coach's like, hey, stop that. We gave up a damn touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. They look like a football team. I love that.
Focused.
They look focused, and accountability has been a word to be thrown around for a long time. And
Constantly.
I'm glad finally, players being held accountable.
It's funny to address what Nick said. It's weird, like as a Nebraska fan, you know, everyone throws around, you know, cautious optimism. I think as a Nebraska fan, like you said, like getting that interception, you're expecting, you know, a pre-snap penalty.
The worst.
Yeah, and expecting to like get nothing out of it.
Right.
I think as a Nebraska fan, we've just become so accustomed to cautious pessimism, where it's like we just assume the worst, and when something good happens, like, oh, holy shit, are we a real football team? And finally, we're getting. It feels like we're getting out of that zone, but we do have a nice opponent ahead of us that I don't want to get there.
You guys have seen Major League 2, right?
Yeah, just the first. Just the first
Oh, you
one.
want to see the first one? Okay. Well, if you've seen the second one, there's the Cleveland fan who is the cockeyed optimist. And it's Randy Quaid.
Okay.
And after the season takes a turn for the worse, he's the most jaded fan. And like what you just said there, Connor, as Nebraska gets a football after that interception, there's a part where like, all right, 3 more outs, we're going to the World Series, and they're all excited. And Randy Quaid goes, "Don't worry, they'll blow it in the ninth." And that's like how we are as a fan base. It's kind of nice to be like, wait, what?
We won.
We didn't blow it.
Right. Like, I mean, I think as a fan, we're kind of like Randy Quaid in Major League 2 right now. We're expecting like, they'll blow it in the ninth, but holy cow, when they don't, it's just.
It's the greatest feeling in the
world.
world.
It is. It's like, oh my gosh, is a light going on? Like, this is great.
And it's, you know, it's not, I don't want to just give all the credit to Mickey Joseph. I mean, Bill Bush too, because he is technically a new guy on the staff and experienced. He's invested in this program. Like, they're in the process right now of rewiring everybody's brains.
Yeah.
Fans, players, like, and I'm not just saying this because of hindsight. I swear to Christ, I'm not just saying this. But, like, even after the Chuba fumble against Indiana in the end zone, I did not think, fuck, this game's over. I really did not think that way. Even after that punt block, when they returned it to I think it was like inside the 10, I'm like, you know what? This game does not feel over. And maybe that's just because I was off the Frost train for a while. And so it's just kind of like, what's that word? It was just something I expected with Frost, right? And so you get anyone new in there, it's going to be different. But I seriously did not feel that way. This team feels different. I know they played 2 bad teams, but it just feels different.
Well, and on that note, though, is like, okay, Indiana and Rutgers are bad football teams, but look at our record. We are a bad football team.
Hey, we're tied for first. We're tied for first, thank you.
3 of 7 teams in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, but, you know, it's just like, I think to your point is like we have come accustomed to and kind of learned how to recognize like, okay, that's the game loser, right? Like, okay, that is where it went wrong, and that is now we know we're going to lose the game. The punt against Michigan State, the block punt against Iowa, like at that point, everybody's deflated. Everybody is, okay, the game's over, we lost. Whereas now we look at Rutgers have an unnecessary roughness call when we're trying to drain the clock, and we're like, oh, Rutgers just lost that ball game right there. It's weird that we like recognize that kind of thing, because in the clock management, which is another good, at the end of the game, that last drive, bravo.
Dude.
Listen, it's like watching the Bizarro World episode of Seinfeld where everything is just backwards. And it's like, so Rutgers is Nebraska now. Shiano is doing dumb shit. Well, not him himself, but
Yeah.
you know, he's supposed to be the really good coach at Rutgers, but his team is effing up just like Nebraska was.
He's Scott Frost.
Well, I didn't want to
not go that far. It's funny you bring up clock management as a pro, though. Did you guys see the interaction between Whipple and Mickey Joseph?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I have to bring that up where, we're getting down, what was it, like 3.5, 4 minutes left in the game? Right around there?
Yeah.
It was less than that, I think.
Okay, yeah, we'll call it 2.5. Where Mickey is sitting right next to that judge and is just saying, like, waiting for that timeout. And you can see in the background of that camera, Whipple saying, just take the 5, Mickey. Just take the 5, Mickey. We call the timeout, and you can read Whipple's lips. It's not hard to do.
Yeah.
All he says is, God damn it.
Yeah.
He turns around and walks away.
Which I didn't disagree with Whipple's thoughts there too.
Yeah.
You have
No,
that
I
you have that
agree.
timeout in your pocket because you never know what's going to happen.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
I was yelling
You
at the
know?
TV saying
Yeah.
the same thing, though. I was like, this is Nebraska. Come on.
Right,
you know
right.
what can happen.
But
You
maybe
need that
that
timeout.
That was Mickey's optimism. That was Mickey's
Yeah.
confidence. And you know what? Again, if it doesn't work out, we hammer on that thing. It worked out fine. I didn't love it, but it worked out fine.
Let me ask you this, guys. Does Scott Frost win that game?
Oh,
Come on.
I think
Let me
that's
ask
a
you.
Come
resounding
on.
hell no.
It's a rhetorical question, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
I figured.
Rhetorical
I'm
as a
just saying,
move.
like, it just, that's the
No.
text I was getting constantly was like, different people. Even my wife. She came up to me. I just get into bed. I'm all pumped up. Had a lot of beers in me. And she's
I'm
like,
shocked.
hey, before you go to bed, I just want to let you know Scott Frost won that game. And I was like,
Good for you.
I love you.
You got to keep her there.
Yeah. No shit.
Well, you got go back to the Indiana game. You're up 21-7. You're feeling good. You worked hard to get that lead. And then by halftime, it's erased. Again, I go back to the previous coaching staff, and I cannot pinpoint what it was. I don't know what it was. I don't know what Scott Frost's leadership style would not lead to being able to overcome that adversity, being able to sit down at halftime and say, all right, guys, we got the bad one out of the way. Now we reset, whatever's being said, whatever rah-rah crap's being said.
Right.
I know how that game would have ended.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not fair to Scott, but I know how that game would have ended. I know last Friday how that game would have ended. Nebraska would still be sitting on one win.
They'd be 1-5. And you say it might not be fair, but you have 50 games almost under your belt to be like, here's my evidence. This is my hypothesis.
And that's all I can go off of. I just
Right.
wish I knew what that disconnect was. We've all heard things, but when it came down to dudes just trying to go out and do their jobs and coaches trying to put them in the best position to succeed, I don't know exactly what that disconnect was. I would love a book to be written someday.
You would think.
I
really
think
would.
you know, who's gonna
Hopefully,
write it?
Any of you players listening, I would co-sign that thing. I would.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
again,
get some sponsors behind it.
We've talked about this a number of times already tonight, is accountability. Not only did Frost not hold his players accountable for a lot of things that they've done, we talked about, not to go into names, the 2 players that, repeatedly left the program and were allowed to come back, not being held accountable. But frankly, we didn't hold Scott Frost accountable for 4 1/4 seasons. And now we see Mickey doing that and actually making good strides in that accountability. And I think that's where we're seeing that benefit coming from. Again, I can't pinpoint that and say, this is the one issue, because to call it one issue is just insane.
I wish I knew. I think we all wish we knew, and it's hard to. But all I can say is right now, it's a team that looks more normal. It's a team that looks like they have confidence. It's a team that looks like they understand that college football adversity takes place, and you can overcome that, as opposed to college football adversity. What the hell is that? When it happens, oh my God, scared of your own shadow. I want nothing to do with it. Now it's like, okay, I want to atone for that mistake, or I want to atone for that bad quarter. And you've got a collection of guys, starting with the coaching staff, all the way down to the players. Is it as simple as Mickey setting the tone? I don't know. It just looks like it looks like it should. I think it's as simple as that. It looks like it should look.
Yeah, and it brings up a question in my mind, is what we're seeing just like the most basic coaching, or Are we seeing like really, really good coaching? Or was the previous coaching just that bad? Like, or are we just seeing what the most basic adult Power 5, this is what the most basic staff would do. This skeleton staff. We're going to call it a skeleton staff. This is as basic as it gets, maybe?
Yeah, it seems like,
I don't know.
It almost like, and to that, like if you're saying this is just like the basic coaching, like this is like just running off the basic rules of blackjack, right? Like, okay, the book tells me I should do this here.
You should tackle and practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe that will work. I don't know. Let's try it.
Split aces.
Yeah.
Make sure you do that.
I think the bar was just set so low that any form of clearing that bar looks great. It was almost impossible to fail.
And I think my like one of my big questions is like, is this a coincidence? Like, had Scott Frost been here, like maybe, right? Like, is it a coincidence that this stuff kind of happens the way it does? Or is it really that like, no, he really was the problem? And I think it leans more towards he was the problem rather than this is just a coincidence that we go out and beat Indiana and Rutgers. Because this was the first time we had beat back-to-back Big Ten teams since 2018.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So it's
His
just
first year.
Yeah, it's just insane.
I've been on the record saying Andy Means, who's retired coach at Miller South, could go to Lincoln right now and coach a better game than Scott Frost. I've said it multiple times on this podcast.
It's like every week you bring him
I
up.
bring him up.
You know what? Good for you, man. Good for I'm an Andy Means fan.
He's also a Millard South alumni.
Yeah, I was Millard South 2 years, Millard West my last two when it
Hey, there
opened.
you go.
So I got love for Andy, but he's awesome.
Yeah,
Mike,
it's like he would coach a better game than Scott Frost. I've said it. And now we're just reiterating it.
I know you keep saying it. And
Every week. Do we have like a sign like how many weeks since Mike brought up Andy Means?
like this workplace safety,
It has
just keep
been 0
erasing it.
weeks.
Hey, he was my teacher. You know what?
Like you think it's a compliment, but it's almost like an insult, kind of.
You guys have
like
heard the story about him, right? He got hit so hard when he played at Nebraska. I think that was back when they had like either the freshman or the JV team. He got hit so hard he swallowed his mouthpiece.
I did not hear that.
Shit.
Yeah, it like swallowed it whole. Came back up, obviously. He's still with us.
He's Andy Means.
He is Andy Means.
He means business.
He probably turned that into a football. I don't know. But no, yeah, you'll have to ask him if you ever see him. It's a great story.
Well, we drop his name enough, and I know we tagged him.
I feel like you guys should have him on the show.
We have to have him on the
I
show.
feel like we do need to.
He tweeted at
Yeah,
us,
have
too.
him on the show.
We need to have him on the show.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, let's take a break.
Normally, Thompson again. His outlet is Grant, and he's got room already into plus territory. Oh.
I think I made him shit himself.
I think he just shit himself.
Good Lord, this guy shit himself big time.
Good Lord.
Okay, beautiful. Because in any quote in life, you talk about novels. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. When you hear it, you just know what it means, right? Anthony Grant goes out for a swing pass. You hear it, and every Husker fan knows exactly where you're taking that thing because he laid the GD wood on that guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know his name, but his name.
I'm not sure he knew his name after that hit.
Now, Connor, what did an Iowa fan say about this play?
So, yeah, I saw on Twitter there was an Iowa fan saying that play should clearly have been considered as offensive targeting. To that I say, watch the fucking replay.
It's an Iowa fan commenting on offense. Just disregard that. Just disregard that. Come on.
So, to run Mike, I love that TikTok. That was not our TikTok king this week. That was Mike making that himself.
That was our Facebook king.
Obviously, so that defender is carried off. Obviously, we don't root for injuries here. That's terrible. I hope the guy's okay.
Yeah.
But to the point of that TikTok, is this another Paul Pierce situation where he did legitimately shit himself and he was carried off to hide it? Like, people are asking.
Oh, no.
Granted, I am people. No one else has asked that question, but I'm people.
I don't ever want to experience the type of hit that would force me to vacate my bowels. Yeah. I can't imagine that force. Like, what? My goodness.
Like, you know what else does that? A dead body.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're basically, if that happens and you're still living, you were that close to
You're
killed.
Clinically dead for
My
those
gosh.
2 seconds.
Murder.
I think both
terrible.
Anthony Grant and that defender will tell that story for the rest of their lives.
And you know what sucks is, that dude, like, if he's ever asked about it, he's going to say, Anthony Grant stepped out of bounds. I let up so I wouldn't get flagged. Sorry,
Is
bruh.
that the new iPhone 14?
Yeah, that sucks.
Sorry, bruh.
Not for me.
You will live forever in infamy.
As
the guy who shit his pants.
He was posterized. I mean, that's I mean, if you want to call that, being posterized with a level deuce on it. That's probably it. But there's not many of them. I mean, they're rare. And hey, welcome to the club, buddy.
I mean, the guy just learned a very valuable lesson. Like, don't just assume 200-pound running back is just running out of bounds.
Well, he was pissed too. I mean, he'd been bottled up all day. He's letting out that aggression.
And you know what? Another thing on that is like that set the tone for the second half. And that's what I love about it, right? Because it was early, and he comes out and absolutely just, like, I feel like Mickey was in the locker room, and he's like, yo, we just need to be physical. Like, let him know we're here to play this second half, right? And then he comes out and murders somebody, and it just, like, it set the tone, I feel like. Like, it was physical.
Yeah, he did set the tone.
Hey.
And Mickey even said going into half, we need to score on this opening drive. And I think that was probably in his head, like, F this, man. I ain't going out like this.
Right?
Bell cow, baby. That is the Anthony Grant on our podcast, Nick, is Anthony Grant is our bell cow. He is more cowbell all the time.
We got fevers.
Yeah, 40
the only
carries
prescription
a game.
is cowbell.
Yes.
Without A.J. Allen, I said it after the Indiana game. That's not a great – well, I don't want to say it's not a great recipe. It's a – I guess I'd be concerned if he's going 32 carries a game. But this is the beauty about having 2 bye weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can, again, you go through this 2-game stretch and you freshen back up. I do expect Gabe Ervin or some combination of Ervin and Yant to have some type of workload, but it's kind of that image of Zeke Elliott, you know, with the image of feed me, feed me, feed me. When Anthony Grant gets going,
just give him the ball.
You have to, right? You have to. And I think he's built for that. I really do.
Doesn't he just look different when he runs? Like he's like a jittery.
It's the jump cut.
Yeah.
Have we not compared him to Amir Abdullah? Like
he's more. I think he's just a bigger Amir. Well, and that's to compare someone to Amir Abdullah. That's saying something.
We got to be careful. We got to be a little careful.
They're a similar skill set, but he's built a little bigger than Amir. And Amir would be the first one to tell you. I mean, you know, just look at the size and the stature. Physically, he is. Is he as explosive as Amir? Probably not. No. But there's that rare skill set where you can do that jump cut. You can move side to side, yet you're still moving forward. Mm-hmm. You don't see that out of every running back, and that's what kind of separates him.
You're still murdering people.
Well,
or doing that.
Yeah. Well, you want to know the difference between Anthony Grant and Amir Abdullah? And let's get into it. The offensive line. Right.
So we're getting into the bad portion of the game.
Oh, are we going to get into the bad portion of the game now?
That's literally what I have. Bad OL.
Bad.
Just bad.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that offensive line, I don't think we can fix it, to be honest.
Not this year.
It just shows you in the last 4+ years, you know, development and retention has been a problem under the Frost era, and we are seeing it right now. I mean, these guys are not developed at all, and the amount of guys that we've had in this revolving door of a program, it just hasn't worked out. And this O-line is
as the team makes the trip up to New Jersey, Tony Soprano asked the offensive line to take a fall. And you know what the offensive line said? We'll just do it for free. Like, dude, Casey took hit after hit, man. I mean, I think he got hit on more than half of his dropbacks. Chubba, I hope you're ready.
Well, and
that's all I gotta say.
Was there
Turner Corcoran's rating?
0.
He got a 0.
Nick Handley, have you ever heard of this before?
No, I have not. And I've been hearing a lot of this, and you guys probably hear this chatter too. Like, okay, let's get a Logan Smothers package or something like that, where you've got a little element of the quarterback run game. I want to go back to the Casey part of it, because I feel like some people are kind of looking at Casey as a guy who's not as tough as they'd like him to be, or a guy that has the vision to take off when the lane is there, even when you're running a zone read type of look. I think the dude just got PTSD from getting hit so much.
Right.
You know, and so I don't blame him for all of a sudden thinking, you know, instinctual, like Adrian would, like run. I think he's like, I want to survive to the next play.
Right.
So it's a problem. It is a problem. Does it make sense to maybe have some type of run elements with the quarterback? You know, you have 2 guys with Chubba Purdy and Logan Smothers that are a little bit more equipped to doing that. Sure, and maybe that is something in the second bye week that you can look into of implementing a few of those packages to do something like that. I know I've said packages a few times, but to implement a few of those.
What do you think?
You like that?
Yeah. Every time I say package, I think like, well, how are people interpreting this?
You Freudian slips today.
UPS.
I know, right? Come on.
Amazon.
But if it's another element to the offense, and it's a way to offset a very leaky offensive line, I'm for it. But don't sit there and I'm not saying you guys are, but don't make it sound like Casey Thompson is afraid to run the football or is unwilling to run the football. Because when you have that little time to throw the football and you're taking the hits that you're taking, I don't think your first instinct would be to run and take more of that punishment as well.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, and so I love that you keep talking about, developing a package for Smothers. I mean, maybe, and in fact, I definitely am kind of overreacting here a little bit. I see a lot of Taysom Hill in Smothers. It's a guy that can run through that, take some big hits, and still get you some positive yardage. I think that's a really good way to utilize him. And like you said, Thompson is a bit smaller. He's a bit shiftier. But if you're going to get into that where you got to get some short yards, 2-3 yards, and you're going to put Smothers in, maybe design run, I think it's great.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Rutgers defense, I mean, when they were rushing, it was no holds barred. It was pin your ears back. And when the quarterback is not really a run threat, you can afford to do that. And so if you're Whipple and you're talking to Casey, hey man, if you even just run once, that's going to make the defense go, crap. But then if you put in Smothers, they're not going to pin their ears back because they know that this guy's going to run. I mean, that's going to be his first inclination. And so you just have to be more willing to run. Yes, and I know I say this as a fan watching from 10,000 feet away with no pads on. And I get it because that offensive line, oh my God. And you ask yourself, is there any way that this can be fixed? I mean, you've tried personnel changes. Hunter Anthony took, and I have to get, he took 66 snaps versus Ben Hart, 54. Versus 7 snaps.
Quick.
So 66 snaps versus 7. So you're seeing Hunter playing instead of him. How can you remedy this? Is it possible?
And it's kind of like the defense thing, too. It's like, okay, can we make a tweak that's really going to unlock something? But what I would also say, too, again, the crowd that would like to see more, I don't even want to say option quarterback, but it wants to see more running element out of the quarterback. The catch-22 of that is you have playmakers, especially in Trey Palmer. I still think Marcus Washington is a player.
Yeah.
Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda, I don't know.
Is he on the team anymore?
Exactly. Kind of MIA, but
question.
Travis Vokolek. You've got guys that they do pose a formidable threat in the passing game. So you can't vacate that. So how can you be creative to look at this offensive line, play to its strengths, but also be able to hide or mask its weaknesses? And that's, again, where you just got to put your stock into this coaching staff, that they're evaluating all this. They're realizing this. Donovan Raiola is in constant communication, too, of saying this is what we can do, this is what we can't do. You're watching film. All of that is going into the game plan. But for some people are like, well, Casey can't cut it. Well, yeah, Casey's the best thrower. And you need guys to get the football to that group of receivers, especially Trey Palmer.
Trey Palmer, you saw that throw.
Absolutely. So you can't get rid of that. But could you have some type of running element out of the quarterback? Sure, you've got 2 guys that could probably do that. It's just, how do you do that? And again, this is where microphone, you guys go get it. I'll just sit here and commentate on it. I mean, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and so I kind of want to talk about adjustments. This is something that we asked for 4 years under Scott Frost. Was we just want some valid halftime adjustments that look like they're working, right? And Jared, like you said, the first half, you've got dudes just pinning their ears. They're sending 7 guys at a time. Like, they're sending everybody, right? And you're trying to develop all these plays downfield, and it's not working. Second half, now you've got the swing pass out to Anthony Grant, and then he kills somebody. Then you've got a lot of crossing routes, and you've got a lot of, things that allow Casey Thompson to get the ball out of his hand really quick. And it started to work, right? Like, you had a couple drives there that went the distance. It just,
Vokolek came up. He played a good game.
Yeah. And so I think that a lot of props like you're talking about is making those adjustments and trying to like figure out ways like, okay, if you're going to pin your ears back, here's the counter, right? It's a chess game. And Mickey said that in the press conference.
Yeah.
He said, look, it was chess out here. He's like, it was just nothing but trying to figure out like what will work, what won't.
With a proven defensive minded guy in Shiano.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So yeah. So I was impressed with that because second half, yeah, you started seeing some stuff that didn't take more than 3 seconds to develop, and it started to work a little bit. So
You're hoping that this hire of Mark Whipple, a guy who's been around since Nam, he's seen everything.
Big Ben.
Big Ben.
Like-
Did you know he coached Big Ben?
Oh God. Have we said this?
We're talking about the clock, Big Ben, or Big Ben Roethlisberger?
Probably
He was
the same guy.
He was around when it was built.
Constructed.
Yeah. Right. And so
You said since Nam. Are we going back to the World War days?
he's old.
Come on.
There's talk about his health not being the greatest, and we will see if he will finish the season out. We don't know for sure. I don't want to throw that out there willy-nilly, but I mean, I heard he was in like a foot cast and like he couldn't. I don't know.
I mean,
we'll see.
It was last year or 2 years ago, and it might have been an Iowa assistant coach that literally was coaching from a hospital bed. Is that correct? It was an Iowa
Hugh
coach?
Freeze was.
Oh, was it Hugh
a long
Freeze?
time ago?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I'm not worried about his health right now.
I want Robo Whipple. That's what I want. I want a freaking robot with a tablet and
Yell
it's
at-
Whipple's face, and the robot has to have socks on.
Yeah.
It's just an iPad with his face on it on the sideline.
selling. He's yelling at Mickey after timeouts. Damn it! Take the 5. Like, dude, no, that's not even no. Okay.
Mickey Joseph just comes over and mutes it occasionally. We got this. Don't worry about it.
Dang it. Okay, let's go over to Purdue. Okay, Purdue do. Or per don't. Whichever
I don't want to
slur.
talk that much shit right now. I know. We're 14-point dogs. I don't want to
I'm just telling you that damn train horn is going to get really annoying.
Yeah.
It's really. I'm not saying it will. I'm not trying to predict, but it just gets annoying.
It
Let's
is.
just say that. Yeah.
Like once is enough.
If
Like,
I hear it once,
Drew Brees going to be at this one again too.
I hope not.
Get a hobby, dude.
Yeah.
Quit
Go
going back
home
to
to
your
your
alma mater.
25 kids.
That's
Rivers.
Yeah, either way. What is it? Breeze has like 4. That's close enough.
Be a Tom Brady and just keep playing.
Yeah. Go
Get
back
divorced
to the
from
NFL.
your wife. Anyway. You already said 14-point favorite. Now, the thing about Purdue, the first thing that people will say, this is Jeff Brom. Broad offensive mind.
Whiz
That
kid,
defense-
right?
yeah.
Offensive whiz kid.
Yeah. He's a very good offensive mind. But
Not
that
a
defense.
great clock manager though.
Listen, oh, God, that first game.
Penn State game.
That was fucking terrible.
Wow. Well, again, it makes you think, like, should every staff just hire a clock person?
Instead of a get back guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the
for
get
clock.
back guy needs to be the clock manager too.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Add to the duties.
Yeah. Seriously, though, because that was ugly. But my point, the defense is overlooked. They've been overlooked for the past 2 years. They had a solid defense last year. They're top 50 in scoring defense this year. So just something to look out for. And the other thing is, I guess this game has been sold out for like the past couple months. And what's the thing about Purdue? Like, whenever it's a 2:30 game, you think, oh, it's going to be a sleepy atmosphere. You watch those Purdue home games, and it's like they kind of get after it.
Especially the night games.
Yeah.
And this is a night game.
And this is a night game.
They're going to be riled up. You get those fans drinking a little bit.
The train.
I think
Yeah.
leading into this year, the sellout might be less to do with Purdue than it has to do with Nebraska. They watched the Nebraska team last year. They saw, these initial couple weeks. And they're like, holy shit, this is such an easy win. Let's go get drunk and go to this game.
Yeah.
Let's talk shit.
They're going to be hostile as shit.
You guys remember the Riker 5 game in 2015?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we, just to see what a ticket was at Ross-Ade Stadium for that weekend, you could get that for $2.75. I'm talking about $2.75, not $275. Like, it was like a $5 ticket to go to Ross-Ade Stadium, and then they introduced like a beer garden. They were like one of the first to do that. And then they had that night game against Ohio State. Rondale Moore, the coming out party of him, and they smoked Ohio State. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a fan base. It's always been very football hungry, but they've had so many low points after the Drew Brees era. And
I get it.
Right? I mean, we're living it right now. So I think they're kind of seeing a path for this team. And so, yeah, I expect that to be a pretty good atmosphere. I think they're going to be out to support it. I don't think you're going to see as many Nebraska fans making it into Ross State Stadium that you typically would in previous years. So it's a true – I mean, we said Rutgers was a true road test because it wasn't in Dublin, which is true. This is the first real road game against a quality team that has every bit of chance as anybody else to win the Big Ten West.
So, Nick, am I crazy in thinking, like, when you watch Purdue, they have Aiden O'Connell, they got Charlie Jones, they got this pretty good tight end. His name is Payne. Yeah, Payne Durham. Payne. Oh, boy, you can already see that. Bring the pain. Okay, we get it.
Pretty sick.
He's a good player.
He's good.
A great player.
And even if you shut down Charlie Jones, they have a few other guys that made plays last week. So just be on the lookout. So when I watch them, am I crazy in thinking, like, this is kind of what Frost envisioned with his offense?
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think there was a lot of comparisons to Braum and Frost because I think Braum was in year 2 when Frost was in year 1, or maybe they were the same. Now it was. I think Frost was a little bit behind.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, I think they feel, or looking at those two in the West Division now, knowing that the West is going away. But I think a lot of people felt that was going to be sort of the rivalry between the two offensive minds, the offensive innovators that were sort of bringing that to the Big Ten. And even Braum had some lean years. It wasn't like it's been all just, sunshine and rainbows for him.
There's been talk that he might go to Louisville, go back home.
And other than, last year kind of upped his stock again because he was great out of the gate, and then they had a couple of lean years, and then last year happened, and then pretty good team this year. Recruiting well. They know the system. They're getting the transfers. You mentioned Jones from Iowa. A lot of Iowa fans are looking at that like, what the hell? What happened? We need a receiver to be healthy, and this guy goes over here, and oh, my God. So, yeah, I think that was always going to be, kind of the rivalry within, the non-traditional rivalries was like Frost versus Braum, the two offensive-minded guys. Well, Braum his stock is there, and Frost, we don't know what's going to happen with him, but he's not at Nebraska anymore. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right that was the offense where you could do it in so many different ways. You could do it with a running game maybe 1 year because you might have a couple of good running backs, but you'd have a quarterback that could sling it. You got receivers, guys from different, physical skill set from like, your 6'3" traditional NFL type guy to your Rondale Moore type guys. It just never happened for Scott. It just never did.
So about Scott, he's at Arizona State because of course he is.
I knew this was coming up.
Why? Why are you at Arizona?
Well, his wife.
Have you seen the women at ASU? Does it not make sense for Frost?
Listen, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, his wife is from Arizona, so if that's all intact still.
It's all just pretty on brand, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway,
I've heard the bar scene is nice down there.
Just a lot of golf courses.
A lot of golf courses you can golf on Sunday morning.
If I'm paid $15 million to basically do whatever for a while,
to go away.
I hear you.
I might hit up some golf courses. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Do you think the memo on that check was just like "fuck off"?
God, isn't it sad where we've come in the past 5-ish years? That's where we're at. Okay.
I want to see the memo.
Yeah, I want to see what it said.
Dude,
can you get a memo to direct deposit? I don't know, but I hope they could.
Do we want to do scoring predictions or get into coaches? What do you think?
Let's do
scoring then coach.
Let's predict this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's shift into we'll wrap it up with some coaching stuff because I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. So it's a 14-point line. Nebraska is not expected to win. I think it's going to be a Purdue win, 34-23. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, I got to go right after you because
that's
Mikey. Funny. You just said 34-23. My score prediction is Purdue winning 35-24.
Okay.
Not the weird score like you said.
It's not even weird.
Kind of is.
Yeah, it hurts. So Mike sent the stat line between like Nebraska and Purdue today in the group chat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bold on that Purdue side.
Those numbers look so mean.
Yeah, that does not look good. I don't know. I'll just throw numbers out there because I don't think any of us have been close this year. So
speak for yourself.
Yeah, I think I've got Purdue scoring like 28 or 31. I'll say 31 and I'll say 14 Nebraska. I think that the defense has been good against offenses that are historically terrible. But their defense is a little bit less than Rutgers in the rankings.
Yeah,
but
lower.
It's true. But, I mean, we didn't do so hard against Rutgers on offense. So, So, yeah, I'll say 31-14 Purdue.
So I have talked about this all day. With Nebraska being a 14-point dog, I have said it 1,000 times. I love that line.
Of course.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
From a betting standpoint or a game standpoint?
From a betting standpoint.
From the degenerate standpoint.
Yeah, okay. I'm apparently the only gambler on this podcast, which is insane to me how much we talk about football, and I'm the only one who gambles. I like a Purdue win. I'm not happy to say it, but I am going to call Purdue 38, Nebraska 28.
So they cover.
Cover.
38-20.
Good teams win. Great teams cover, baby.
Are you getting a backdoor cover on that, or are you getting like a, just keeping it sporty the whole game?
Normally, I prefer backdoor.
Well, you said package. You got him thinking.
I know. I set you up for that. That's my bad. I blame myself. Really.
Nick, no, I like it. I like a 10-point Husker loss, and honestly, with a 10-point loss, I'd be happy.
I would not be happy. I'm never happy with the loss. Yeah. Linning is overrated.
Nick, do you want to put yourself out there and throw something out? Or?
Yeah, I've been looking at – I'm trying to figure out which Purdue team we're seeing because the first half, not so pretty, having some scares. The loss against Penn State was like their best work up until their win against Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they've kind of found themselves a little bit. I think Aiden O'Connell getting more healthy is obviously not great for Nebraska. And, again, I do factor in the night game, the environment, and I think there is real belief that this team can win the Big Ten West. I think they cover. I don't like saying that, but I got Purdue winning 38-21.
Okay. I do want to make a note as well. Anthony Grant, there's been a lot said that he was he was beat up after 32 carries against Indiana, and then he goes into Rutgers, and they don't play so hot, right? The running game wasn't quite there.
He killed someone.
He killed somebody. But I mean, like going into Purdue, a night game, he finally has a full week, right, to prepare and to recover. But 32 carries and then having to turn around and go Friday and then going to play Purdue, like it's going to be rough.
You got to think that he's not going to practice a lot.
Right. And they have not allowed a 100-yard rusher yet. Purdue hasn't.
That's right. Yeah.
So
I do
until
have to ask.
Saturday.
Yeah. I do have to ask.
It's going to be Ramir Johnson. No.
Oh, God.
So
Who's
Nick,
that?
Nick, obviously,
I love Ramir.
Nick, obviously a local guest, and we have a mystery trophy. The only person who knows what it is right now is Kyle for the first correct score prediction.
Oh, okay.
So you might get it.
Does it become a traveling trophy if Nick?
So if you get
right?
it, it's going to be in your basement, and you have to tell us what it is because Kyle hasn't told us what it is.
We're through like 3 or 4
bought
weeks.
I bought it because I correctly guessed the score last year, and I remember what game it was, but yeah, it's just been collecting dust
So
ever since.
do I do my own podcast for the podcast about the traveling trophy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that gives you enough leverage to start your own.
Yeah. It'll be in the 590 studios until someone pulls it from me.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I love it.
All right.
I think we have
I didn't know if there were any rules and regulations on that.
There's no rules. We don't even know what it is.
Someone else gets a correct prediction. We don't even know what it is.
As I say that, this is great for Nebraska. I'm the kiss of death. They're going to freaking pull this thing off.
Let's go. Kiss of death.
Mickey.
I'm emotionally hedging. That was my whole plan.
Oh, yeah.
The entire time.
We have 5 of us at this table that just predicted a Nebraska loss. I pray to God we're all wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I want to listen to this episode again next week and be like, we're so fucking dumb. I would love that.
I would love it.
I say that
Dude,
every day. So.
Crow actually tastes pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
I eat it all the
When
time.
you chose your team to lose and they win.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It's